Sometimes life just gets super fucking busy and you need some help in keeping your energy high. And I get this question all the time. So I thought, why not share my 4-step framework with you that I have used this week to go from writing a book to doing podcast recordings to launching my core program and still actually being fairly happy while doing it. It doesn't mean I didn't eat Chinese food last night at 1 a.m. in my bed, but it does mean I'm still fairly happy with what I'm doing, and I want to teach you how you can do the same and how you can keep your energy high even though it might be a bit busier right now than you originally planned for. Hello, and welcome to the Fast Forward Amy show, the show where we lift your life and business with simple strategies. I'm Fast Forward Amy, your host and coach, and I'll bring you a new episode every Tuesday. Amy, how do I stay motivated when the going gets tough and everything gets super busy and I want to give up? That's a question I get so often. And I was thinking about this, and I've recorded an episode about that, by the way, how to stay motivated when the going gets tough. You can find it on my website. There's a link, an article, the actual audio files and stuff. But I was thinking about the actual energy. Motivation will ebb and flow, habits will stay. And you might be lacking the habits that are keeping your energy high. It might not be a motivation problem. You might just literally be leaking energy, which is why you're not able to continue. And you know I'm not a therapist, so do with this advice what you want. But I'm just going to share with you the 4 steps I use for myself to stay energetic even when it gets really, really busy. For example, this is the 4th episode I'm recording today. I went to bed at midnight. 4 days before that, I was writing for 4 days. Then I had on a book, and then I had recordings yesterday, and then meetings, and then problems to solve. And I also had dinner with my parents and stuff, but I've been super busy these past couple of days, and I'm gonna be even busier in the next days. And while I will say that I don't recommend you plan your days like that, note to self, I also will be honest, and sometimes you just gotta pay your dues. Sometimes it's just gonna get busy, be that in business, in life, whatever. So it will always come in handy to have some tools and habits just like in your toolbox that you can use to keep your energy high, because I could also have just canceled today, and maybe 2 years ago I would have, because when I woke up this morning I really didn't want to wake up, but then I think in like 5 seconds I got over myself because I used one of the tips that I'm going to be teaching you today. If you're overall interested in habits, by the way, I have a really great workbook for both your money habits as your practical time management habits and so much more. It's my Success Habits workbook. You can find it through the link in the description, or you can just surf to fastforwardamy.com/success habits. Okay, let's get this ball rolling. I'm going to teach you my 4 key things that I do to keep my energy high even when life gets super busy. Spoiler alert, wine is not the answer. If anything, it's really, really not the answer. I've also untaught myself that habit because I've used it before to kind of numb my busy days, which leads me to step 1. Step 1 for me is feeling my feelings. This might seem really obvious, but when something really bad happens, we have a tendency to be like, I need to stay strong, I cannot cry. But I've learned in the past that, for example, when you fear tears welling up, it means that they actually need to get out, because I read somewhere, I don't know if this is true, that your tears actually have hormones and they need to get out. I was taught as a little girl with 3 brothers that it was weak to be so sensitive and that it was weak to cry. I have learned that crying is amazing. Crying is almost like having an orgasm. Not quite, but it can give you a huge release. Fuck, I said things. So feel your feelings, and what I mean by that is if you want to cry, cry. But especially movement. I know when you are very much over your limits, it might be really difficult to move, but I bought a treadmill disc, and I use that now. You can also buy just like only the walking piece and shove it under something in your house. It costs money, but I think you can start at like 300 euros and you can find one. Might be something to save up for, or like a next birthday, everyone can chip in or something. Or you just buy it. I don't know where you are financially. What I want to say is I just went outside yesterday because I read this book a while ago. It's called Burnout something something by the Nagoski sisters. I'll link it in the article of this episode. And it's about completing the cycle. It's about how you can prevent burnout and work through elements of burnout, because we get so many emotions and they store in our body and we don't work through them. And there are many ways you can cope with this. One of the ways is by hugging people, by actually talking to people, connecting, laughing. But one of the easiest ways to do that is by moving your body. So I have learned that when I am very swamped, I need to start moving my body until the physical stress starts disappearing, because sometimes I feel like it's mental stress where it's just like it came in through my brain. For example, like something bad happened and then it's stored in my body and my brain wants to move on, but my body is like, dude, you've not resolved this yet. This has to do with your fight, flight, or freeze response. But I'm not going to go into detail in that because I can't remember stuff like that in great detail. But basically, you know what I'm saying. It's like a kid falls and you see them holding in their tears because they want to be a little strong boy because that's what they were taught, but they actually really want to cry. It's much better to just have them cry it out, and at a certain point when they're crying, they'll be like, and that's when you know they're over it. They will stop crying. They release. They went through the entire tunnel of their emotions and they released what's like trauma in their body. Again, I'm not an expert here. I'm not a therapist, so take from this what makes sense to you. I do that through walking. I've done that through swimming, and I've noticed that sometimes my head will be almost exploding, and then at a certain point I'll feel it calming down, and it's also when my body starts to actually relax. Teaching yourself to move is really great. Getting into like the bathtub can be great. Just figuring out ways to allow not only your brain but also your body to feel the feelings is a really great tip that I would teach you. So for example, yesterday I was really stressed out. I had a meeting that would have meant I would be sitting still and getting more stressed out. And I asked, hey, can we do this meeting outside and go for a walk? We did more than we would have done sitting down. And at the same time, I worked through my stress. So I will also do a lot of meetings on my treadmill disc or walking. I noticed that because of the digital age, we do so many meetings through Zoom, but it would also be fine to sometimes not do a meeting through Zoom where you need to be sitting still, do it on the phone so you can move around the house. As human beings, we're not made to sit still, so that's why you need to move to work through your feelings. The second step I am currently teaching myself is to call in support. So once I realize what I'm actually feeling, be that sad or angry or whatever, I also have gotten the reflex a little bit more that I actually need to tell people. A practical way for me is to actually tell my mom, because I tend to be very strong. Like I've always been in my family the person who like can handle anything, but that's not always true. But obviously they will think that if I don't open up. So calling in support for me is telling my mom I'm not feeling well and what's happening, but it could also mean asking Caroline, who I had the meeting with yesterday, like, hey, I am feeling like this. Do you have some space for me? Or she tells me I have space to hold it, so like open up. And then me asking for support by saying, is it possible for you that we do this meeting outside? That's a very tiny way of asking for help, but you can do this in so many ways. It can be asking your partner to maybe take over cooking dinner, or asking your partner, hey, can we order takeout? Or could you rub my back? Funny example. My best friend Jessica and I just went away for the weekend, and she has a chronic disease that she's living with amazingly, but it does impact her. And she has something on her back, and we've traveled together tons of times for weeks on end. And she's never asked me to rub her back, but I'm actually fairly good at giving massages. She didn't know this. And she was hurting so much, she was like, I wish I could book like a last minute person for a massage and stuff. And I was like, you know what, like we can't reach anyone. How about you show me what you need and I'll do it. And she was very surprised that I was good at it. And I was so happy that I could help her relieve her pain. And the next day she woke up, she's like, it's all gone. I feel so much better. I can't believe you did that. And I was like, I feel like I got to do something that really mattered to her. She feels physically better, but we've never had the reflex, like from all the times of traveling, her getting migraines, all of that stuff. She's never asked me, and I've also never offered. And then the day after, I was in pain, and I was like, hey, could you maybe like push that spot in my back? So safe to say we entered a new level of friendship this weekend. Because literally, despite the fact that we've seen each other naked a ton of times, like in the shower and stuff, we never went to that point of like giving each other a massage. Now we did that. I'm oversharing. It's perfect. Best friends. Calling in support. And that means also letting people know, hey, I'm going to be busy. I'm going to be stressed. Something is going to have to give. So the week I'm having, going from writing a book to doing podcast recordings to opening a pre-order, for example, like launching, means that I won't be as nice of a person as I usually am. So my assistant, who's always in the house with me, she's super nice and literally she wants to take care of me and do all the things. But I kind of noticed myself retreating on Sunday and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to tell her what's happening and tell her I'm going to need extra support this weekend. So I just literally texted her like, hey, this and this is happening. I'm going to need extra support this weekend. And old me would have never felt comfortable in doing that. And that doesn't mean like you might not have paid support, but I just mean in every sense of the word. Include your environment in how you're feeling and that way they will be able to show up for you. But when they don't know, you can't get support. So step 1 was feel your feelings, preferably also through movement, so you can actually work through them. Step 2 was call in support. You don't have to be strong. You are already strong and worthy. Calling in for support does not make you weak. It makes you human. Step 3 is reframing. So when I woke up this morning, I have these new bed sheets. They're amazingly soft. I also went to bed way too late. Spoiler alert, I was so wired last night that I ended up swimming at 12 o'clock at midnight. And then I found leftover Chinese food in the kitchen and I ate it in my bed. I needed to unwind. I was just eating Chinese food in my bed. So this morning my alarm clock went off and I was like, shit. But it only happened in a blip. I was like, oh, I'm still so tired. And I'm like, oh, but I get to record today. I get to work with really fun people. I don't have to do a lot. My lease is going to do my hair and makeup, so I don't even have to do that. How amazing. I just get to put on my sweatpants and I get to sit in the chair and she's going to do my hair and makeup. When I don't watch myself talk, it could have easily been, I don't want to wake up. Why is it so cold? I feel so crappy. I am so tired. Why do I need to sit here? Why did Robin make me sit in the chair 2.5 hours before recordings? Why is this so early? Couldn't I have done my makeup myself? Something like that could have easily taken up way more space in my brain and I would have made it really difficult. But I reframed the fact that I had to wake up to, I got to wake up to get treated so well by the people around me. And when you have a fully booked calendar, you might be like, oh, I don't want to see that last client of the day. I'm so tired. But what if you looked at it as, I'm so grateful that my calendar is so booked that I get to work with so many amazing people. Instead of being like, I don't want to see that last client of the day because I'm tired. What if you looked at money as a way and you reframed this instead of saying, oh my God, I have so many bills, and like twisted that to, I'm so grateful that my money allows me to pay someone to fix these things in my house if you have something that needs repairing. Reframe everything to a positive state of mind because that will also attract more positivity. Now, I posted about this on my stories yesterday and someone was like, I feel like the reframing goes against feeling your feelings. And I thought that's an interesting question. But it's not mutually exclusive. I think you need to feel your feelings with bad stuff. But I also think that like sometimes you're just in way too deep and things move levels. But reframing is also necessary because you're making things much bigger than they need to be. Waking up at 7:30 to get your hair and makeup done is not bad. I'm certain that everyone else sitting here behind the screen woke up a lot earlier than I did today. Granted, they weren't eating Chinese food in their bed at 1 a.m. So grateful I had Chinese food. Reframing everything. What I'm saying is feel your feelings with actual bad stuff. But when things aren't actually bad, you might be turning them into negativity in your brain, and you shouldn't be doing that to yourself. Be grateful, right? Be grateful for the people you surround yourself with, for the amount of work you get to do. Sometimes there is like a thing of you're not allowed to hustle anymore, you're not allowed to work hard. But so you could easily be like, oh shit, I overshot my boundaries and now I have too much work. And you can focus on that you didn't do a good enough job at protecting your boundaries. But what if you looked at it like, I'm so grateful I got so many requests for work, and you know what, I might be a bit tired, but I'm really happy with the type of work I'm doing. So reframe your self-talk. Look at disadvantages bringing in more opportunities. And that could be a client who cancels. Reframe that to, now I get to look for a new client who is a perfect fit, or now I get to work more on my business, stuff like that. Then the fourth step, like maybe these first three were chronological. The fourth one is maybe separate. Maybe it's the next step. It's about making decisions. It's one of my personal things that I'm doing more of this year. Sometimes I'm a bit slow, I wouldn't say, but I feel like I'm a bit slow sometimes. But I honestly think the only reason I feel like that is because of my dad and Jessica, because they are so fast. They are so good at making fast decisions. We went through a therapist a while back, Jessica and I, and she showed us patterns. And she showed us that Jessica has a pattern where she's really fast in decision making, and I am someone who needs to bathe in stuff. So I need to be like, I need to make this decision, I need to bathe in it, let me think about it, and I'll circle back to you. I can't do that anymore. Despite the fact that I like to bathe in stuff, sometimes we have to admit that actually the decision was already made, but we're just not good at communicating them and taking action on them. Sometimes I see something in my calendar a week from now, I'm like, that's double booked. I have a meeting and the workout at the same time, or I have 2 meetings, or I have a live in a meeting. And I will see it and I will know what's happening, and I will postpone talking about it with the persons involved. I know I need to do it, but I don't act on it. Somewhere in my brain, I know which one of those 2 needs to go, but I don't tell them. And that is giving me much bigger pain later down the line when the day of arrives and I still haven't fixed that problem, whereas I already knew what needed to happen a week before. So I have decided for this year, I am making faster decisions. And I told this to my coach, and she was like, sometimes it's not about making the decisions because you already have the decisions, but it's about actually going through with them, actually doing it. So that's what I'm committing to. And I think that's keeping my energy high, because otherwise you're spending so many moments going back to the same decision. So many times you see the double booking. So many moments you see the thing that you wanted to change, but you haven't changed it. So sometimes it is better, like when the colors of your website are off, okay, then just go and change the colors of the website. Please don't procrastinate too much on stuff like that. When I see that the meeting is not good, I should just cancel the meeting and let them know, like, hey, I can't make that happen. We need to reschedule. When you need to set a price for a program, I did this yesterday. We came up with something and we were like, oh, it might be that price or that price. And I'm like, okay, let's just decide right now. Otherwise, we're going to go back and forth. And it's going to end up being the price that we already kind of talked about. When you make decisions, you can always change them later. But making decisions is probably the biggest bottleneck that you currently have in your business. And when you don't make a decision, you're stuck. So I am making more decisions, and because I'm making them, I don't lose 5 minutes and 5 minutes and 5 minutes of negative energy on having to revisit stuff, so I don't get tired, and I can keep that energy for other stuff like recording podcasts. Robin took all of my decision power away for this day, and she was like, 7:30, you start. 7:30, I was still in bed. Fortunately, the studio is in my house and we're currently sitting in my living room. So yeah, these are my 4 steps that I'm currently using to keep my energy high. They might sound ridiculous to you, but I promise you, if you actually apply them, it's gonna change your life. And I know I give a lot of examples where I'm like, my team and this and that, but 2 years ago I had no team, and man, was I procrastinating. It's actually sometimes a team that keeps me accountable. But no one told me I needed to get better at decision making. I'm here to tell you, feel your feelings, call in support, be it from your mom, like she would, like, or someone in your environment, or your friend, whatever. Reframe because you're being a negative Nancy. Sorry, like I've done that a shit ton these past few months. I felt sorry for myself so much. Started reframing things as opportunities, and then decide and actually act on it. And I want to give one more example before I close off, is that the biggest example for me is when I went through my breakup, I was like, this is so heavy, and we live together, and now like my boyfriend needed to move out, because it's my house and all of that. And then someone told me it could have been much worse. You could have bought the house together, you could have split all of the furniture and all of that stuff. And then I was like, oh yeah, that's true. It could have been a lot worse. And that doesn't mean I wasn't allowed to feel my feelings and be really, really sad about losing my family. But I was able to see that it was actually, compared to the other options, still fairly simple because I had bought the house and stuff like that. It's very personal for me to share that, but I just wanted to show you because sometimes I think I might make it seem too easy or like not emotional, but I've also really applied this to really emotional things, and I've helped so many clients do this, and especially my team members have grown so much through this whole reframing. And it's what will build up your resilience, but it's what will give you so much more positive energy. So if you want to build more positive success habits, like more positive money habits, if you want to look at what are the big things you should be doing in your business so you can get more energy and get more reward for what you're doing, make sure you go and download my workbook, The Success Habits. You can find it through fastforwardamy.com/success habits. And if you want to read the 4-step process again that I've created here, you know that you can always find it on our website. Everything is linked in the podcast tab. Every podcast has an article with a recap. So if you're currently walking or cooking or whatever, you can just find it later and save it. And if you've been listening right now, walking, cooking, cleaning, whatever, I would love for you to snap a selfie and to tag me on Instagram as @FastForwardAmy and tell me what you were doing while you were listening to the podcast, because I don't know. In the podcast stats, I can see where you're tuning in from, like which countries and languages and stuff, but I can't see what you're doing, and that would give me amazing insight into how you're doing and what you're doing. So feel free to tag me on your stories, and I'm back next week Tuesday with a new episode. Have a happy day, and by the way, don't forget, if you're interested in coaching with me at any given time, just send me a DM to ask me what's a good fit for you, what we have to offer you. I answer every single message. If I've ever not answered, please resend the message to me because, you know, I'm only human. And if you have any other questions, for example, about our Business Freedom Elevator or our Boss Up Mentorship Program, just shoot us an email at team@fastforwardamy.com. Talk later, and have a stupid day. Have a great day.